Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar for IPSE. This has proved to be a popular topic, so thank you all for registering and joining me live. If you're not joining me live, thank you for watching it. Again, I have just obviously hit the record button, so if you are watching it live, you will be able to watch it back again shortly when we send it out to you, along with a copy of the slide deck. My name is Luann Wise. I will talk probably for about half an hour, I'm estimating. I'm really happy to take questions as we go through. If it's something that I think I will be coming on to, I will wait. If it's a burning question, I will answer it. If not, I will save it for the end. The Q&A box is there for you, and also any tech difficulties. Hopefully it's okay. So far, no one's popped anything in there, so I will get going. So who am I? The other side of your screen. There may be people that have watched my webinars before. Please do say hello. It'd be great to know who is listening live to this session, and hello to a listener from Brazil. Great to have you here with us as well. My name, oh sorry, I was just checking a question there. That's okay. No tech difficulties. My name is Luann Wise. I am a marketer. I'm a chartered marketer, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. I've been doing this for over 20 years now, working in advertising agencies, working client side as a marketing manager, and running my own consultancy business too. As much as I am a planner, a marketing planner at heart, I do have a specialism in social media, having written a book on the topic. And I do work directly with some of the social media platforms. I am one of LinkedIn Learning's online course instructors and an accredited trainer for Facebook and Instagram. I also do coaching for Google and their Digital Garage initiative, and I'm really proud to be an ambassador for IPSE. So thank you for all saying hello. Great to have you along for the session. Hopefully in this session, there's going to be lots of resources that you can refer to later, which is why we're sending a copy of the slides to you. Hoping I'm keeping it practical as well. Some do's and don'ts. Well, there is no rule book for social media, but hopefully the tips I'm going to share with you are practical. We do kind of often say, oh, it's just common sense, but we always see things that we don't predict, and our definition of common sense is often different from another. But what I wanted to start off with, whether you saw my webinar in the past couple of weeks on how to adapt your social media in current times, I've put a link to it at the end of the session as well. Just really some current actions in terms of do's and things you should be thinking about while we are experiencing this world crisis and having to adapt everything that we do. And hopefully you've done this already, because we're in week 4 of lockdown in the UK, is that you did review any scheduled content that you had ready. You may be able to still use it, but it's definitely always worth, whenever anything big goes on in the world, checking that content that you have scheduled. Some you may have had to cancel, some you may have had to tweak, some you may just be postponing to use later on. I'm only ever a fan of using automation when it's something that you would want to do manually, but you're trying to scale, rather than automation for the sake of the fact that you can automate things. But right now, in particular as well, I would recommend switching off anything you've got automated, because what we need to be doing, just like the government are doing in their daily addresses, is reassessing the situation daily in terms of our content and our activity. But while we are still operating and posting content and being active, this is really important, because now more than ever we need to stay visible and consistently visible. Never doing online or face-to-face yo-yo marketing, heads down when we're busy on projects, only come up and post content when we're perhaps a bit quieter. Staying visible is how we let the world know what we're doing, what we're working on, what's happening in our businesses, and how we can develop our business as well. So really important. But also what's important right now is to acknowledge what is happening, to address that there is a situation, We all know there's a situation, but we need to kind of be sensitive, show empathy to people, that we know what's going on. We know we're in challenging times. We know that people are having difficulties, that the way we work is changing. We just need to acknowledge that. Be sensitive in everything we're doing, and also really focusing not on overselling. It's not really a time to be doing that. People switch off a bit to that sometimes anyway, unless it is real kind of retailer product promotions. But this is a time more than ever to be helpful and to be adding value to our target customers. And what I've highlighted on the right is some stats that have come out from a Twitter user survey. I found these over the weekend, asking their users, should people be still marketing? Should they still be promoting? And only 7% of respondents said brands should continue using their normal brand tone of voice. This is a time to, as I said, adapt, show empathy, address what is happening, and it's our tone of voice and the language we use that we need to be adapting right now. An interesting 70% of respondents to that survey also said that brands should be thinking about being positive, boosting positivity and sharing positive stories, but in a way that's helpful to people, not in a bragging, boasting way. People don't like that anyway, but just to think forward and share positive things that could help other people as well. And right now, as I said in the webinar a couple of weeks before, and I'm a big fan of anyway, this is a real time to be planning and preparing for the future. These are short-term changes that we're making, but we need to be thinking long-term as well. So the do's and don'ts I'm sharing over the next set of slides are really do's and don'ts to help with that planning and that preparation, but also they're in no particular order, okay? A couple of tech issues, but only one or two, so hopefully the rest of you can hear this okay. Just having a quick check. So the first big do really is about planning, and it is about being really focused. That's what we need to do on social media at any point in time, is to really focus on where it counts. And by that I mean the platforms, which social media platform you use needs focus. It is very difficult to try and do everything, or to try and do everything well. It's much better to focus on the social media platforms that are right for your business. And the point of this illustration is trying to say that you fish where the fish are, that you focus where your target audience are, the platforms that they're using. If they're hanging out there, that's where you need to be as well. It may be that you use other social media platforms for insight and information, but if you can find out where your audience are, that's where you need to be too. It also means a real focus on your customers as well. You're focusing on their needs, their wants, and how you can help them. When you're writing content, sharing anything on social media, it should be all about them, and how you're helping them and what you can offer to help them. It is not about gaming algorithms or trying to do things that the social media platforms might or might not show people. If you write for your customers, then that's what's going to get results for your business. And also focus on your business goals. It's very easy to dive into social media and start posting or start playing around with some new shiny features, but focus is more important now than ever, and it's going to be more important in the future. We're time starved, our customers are changing, so focus is the key word here. And then it's all about your social media profiles. Your social media profiles need to be fit for business. You don't want to be anonymous or mysterious on social media. And by that, I mean having a strange username or not having a photo on your profile or filling in the information that describes your business. It's really important all the time that you make a good first impression. And I've got some resources later on, which includes a checklist for your social media profiles, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn. But just some key points are that you should have a good, clear profile photo on your profiles. Ideally of you, if you're interacting as an individual, or if not, a very clear logo of your business. A real username that's easy for people to find, easy for people to identify that it is you and your business, and something that's easy and memorable for people to be able to use if they want to mention you as well. A vanity URL is really just kind of some housekeeping, but it's making sure that the URLs for your profile are neat and include your business name. So you can do that on LinkedIn. You can do that on Facebook, your Facebook page as well. It's really just keeping things tidy and looking professional. And the purpose of your social media profile, as well as interacting with people, is about helping people find you. So to help people find you, it's important to be using keywords throughout your profiles. Not overthinking the keywords and thinking that this is some kind of SEO rocket science thing, but just thinking about what will people be searching for on social media to find someone like you, to find your business, to find the services and products that you offer. Just make sure that you include those words across your profile so that the search engines of the social media platforms will help you get found, but also when people do come across you, that they can see that you're going to be relevant for what they're looking for. And where there are opportunities to brand your page, for example, a header image, changing colours, putting imagery on there, then please do that and keep it fresh as well. What's always useful to be social and in terms of content, what people would like to engage with is going behind the scenes of your business. Sometimes when it comes to visual content, people find it a bit trickier if they don't have particular products that they're making and that they're selling. But telling people about your business helps them get to know you, helps build the know, like, and trust factor. And now more than ever, I also think that's really important. It's important to let people know how you're changing your business during these times, if you're still open for business, if your delivery times have changed, if your working practices have changed. But I just wanted to share a couple of examples of my own, because it's always easier to share my own examples, of content that's quite easy to create. It's not overly complicated. It's just about telling the story of what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And the first one kind of makes me laugh that this was one of my most popular posts on LinkedIn a couple of years ago. It's myself and a selfie with an 80-year-old man. But this 80-year-old man is a renowned marketing professor who I went to hear a talk. And I've just tried to highlight here where just sharing something very simple that I'm doing in my business says a lot in the post. I've mentioned a well-known marketing professor. I'm demonstrating that I'm doing CPD, keeping up my own knowledge, staying up to date. It's associated with my professional body. It was at a university location. I've been able to quickly share an opinion in that post by the fact that I was inspired by someone highlighting the importance of getting the basics right, and I've got photographic evidence. It's not essential to do that, but I hope you can see that it's a nice, simple post going behind the scenes of my business, what I'm doing and what I'm working on. We're not attending live events right now, but there's lots of things that we can be doing, allowing people to get to know us. And having written the webinar for you a couple of weeks ago, I took my own advice. And here's something that I've done right now that's working really well in terms of engaging with my existing clients and my network. I created a blog post, which I've shared on social media, about how I'm adapting my business activities during the crisis, just to let people know how it's affected me and what I'm doing differently. And I'm also staying really visible on my Facebook page in particular, sharing a Friday afternoon post with a photo, just to say what I've been working on that week, what I'm doing differently and what I do. Because when I'm just telling people what I do, sometimes that resonates with people, it gives them ideas, but it's also sharing what I can offer and how I can help in a storytelling kind of way. And I think for me, this is quite a nice habit to be getting into, and I will definitely be carrying it on when we go back to a new normal. Also important on social media in terms of content is accuracy and attention to detail. Of course, we do know, and we have all seen, that when a mistake is made in a social media post, when there is a spelling mistake, that it gets attention. But attention with mistakes isn't always for the right reason. And I've just got a few examples in this slide deck, just to show you what people pick up on. And this was one quite a while ago, actually, 2015. Some of these are kind of classic examples, that BlackBerry were posting about keeping up conversation on Twitter, but they'd posted it on an iPhone. So whoever was tweeting for BlackBerry was using an iPhone, and people really do pick up this level of detail. And so it brings me on to another point of not sharing content you haven't read as well is also important. We do know that sometimes a headline might make you think that something is really relevant for you to be sharing. If you actually dive into the detail of that article, there may be points in there that you disagree with. There may be competitors mentioned, there may be calls to action that move people away from your business rather than towards it. Do always double check that links work when you're sharing content. And do also check as well that you are able to share that content, maybe asking for permission, so that you're not breaching copyright issues. Really important. And one of the best ways to do that is sometimes just to drop people a note beforehand to say, I'd like to share this to my profiles, is that okay? Or just to make sure that if it's already publicly available, that you acknowledge the original author for the links that you're sharing to. One thing I use social media for more than anything else is not just broadcasting and sharing content, but it's about listening as well. Using it as a tool to understand what's going on in the world and what other people are up to. I may be doing that simply by following them. I may be doing that by following specific hashtags, setting up columns and Twitter lists. These are all individual topics that I've talked about on other webinars, to which I'll include links at the end of this slide deck. But listening in particular for opportunities is really useful. And I have just a couple of examples here of my own, again, because they're ones that I know that I can share. Sometimes you can listen to complaints that people are making. It will help you understand features that people don't like, or where there might be an opportunity for you to get involved. And I think the important thing here is that if people are kind of sharing this stuff on social media, they're looking for a response. And if it's something you can help with, then great. So again, a few years old, this example, you may have seen it before. I was looking to buy a car. I wanted to buy a small Fiat 500 at the time. I knew exactly what I wanted, what colour I wanted, what spec I wanted. And I went into a branch and I was told that I couldn't buy one that day because the manager wasn't in. Apart from my annoyance, my first reaction is to go to Twitter and to see what Twitter says. And what was great, yes, Fiat did respond to me, not in the most positive, supportive way, but they did respond. But what also happened was within the next couple of hours, people were obviously listening to this conversation, and I got offered help by other leasing companies and car dealerships. So really easy to kind of sit and think, what might people be posting on social media that if I listened out for it, I could respond to? Another don't for social media is that if you do have a social media account for your business, some people do outsource this, and sometimes outsourcing can work absolutely fine. But if you are outsourcing, please make sure that they are part of your business and that they can contact the business and get involved and offer support. I'm happy to share that I had made a booking with my local Quick Fit and needed to cancel the appointment. When I tried to phone up to cancel the appointment, I couldn't get through. I kept getting answer machines, and I was quite keen that they did know that I wasn't going to show up. So I turned to Facebook and messaged their Facebook page to let them know. And what ended up happening was that the people managing their Facebook page said that centre staff do not have access to the social media page, so I still needed to call to cancel the appointment. Their social media team couldn't contact the branch on my behalf with the questions that I was having a conversation through on social media, which is just pointless of having the page set up in that way. If you're going to outsource it, make sure that you are still involved. And if you're going to offer customer service, make sure that you do offer customer service. Which brings me to the point of, don't just use social media to broadcast, to just post things. You need to anticipate that people will respond, which QuickFit obviously hadn't. But also what you need to be focusing on is that engagement is your top priority. Just posting content out there, throwing mud to show that you have done some content isn't enough. People need to engage with it if it's going to get results for your business. So when you're writing content, think about how you can encourage that engagement. Think about whether your post can ask questions, whether you can start discussions. Running competitions on social media can be really useful as well as a way of demonstrating your products and services. When I'm doing my weekly post now of what I'm doing that week, I'm asking other people what they're doing or what they're thinking of or what they've got planning. Always think about when you're posting, this isn't just announcements, broadcast announcements, it's about you adding value to someone else's world. The biggest challenge, perhaps, with social media as well, and maybe it's the reason that some people outsource, is that, particularly right now, some people's days are looking like this, social media can take up a lot of time. Managing time on social media is really key. It's one of the reasons that I use the word focus at the beginning of this webinar. But there are tools to help, management tools to help. I would, even though I said earlier, cancel your scheduling, I would have some core content created that can go out at any time. If you have a website, a great exercise is to go through your website and see if you can write perhaps 1 or 2 tweets or post updates for every page with a link through to that page. To have core content ready and prepared and batched your time in that way means on a day-to-day basis, it should be about engagement rather than content creation and posting. Batch your time to separate out the activities rather than it taking up so much time all day, every day. This is a question I always get asked, so I pop this one in. Do post your content. Again, it's a bit of time management and why scheduling tools can help at certain times. Do post your content when your audience are online. And the answer to that, people often ask, what is the best time to post? And the answer to that is in your own data. So this is an example screenshot from Facebook Insights that is telling me when the audience for this Facebook page are most likely to be online. And we can see that they're most likely to be online in the morning. They are not very much online after 3 o'clock until later in the evening. So if I'm going to schedule or post any content, it's going to be at the times when I'm hoping they are most likely to see it rather than when they're not online, because they may miss it, particularly for the faster platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. LinkedIn is a much slower platform, so I don't think that that's so relevant. I find that I get engagement on LinkedIn posts for up to 10 days, so I don't worry about the time to post on LinkedIn, but I do for Facebook. The answer is in my insights. On Instagram, the answer is in my insights. On Twitter, I use a third-party tool. I've got a link at the end called Twiriad that will tell me the best time to post for my audience. What can also be useful as another do, said no particular order for these do's and don'ts, is repeat your content. That core content I mentioned that you've created that drives traffic to your website, core messages about your business, the products and services you offer. People will not see every single thing you're doing as soon as you post it. So it's absolutely fine to repeat your posts. I've just mentioned a tool called Twiriad. You may never have heard of that before, but I probably mention that in almost every social media session I do when someone asks me about the best time to post. So it may not have been on your radar before, but I need to keep repeating the same messages. I only have so much I can talk about for my business. So it's absolutely fine to repeat things for when people come into your world and need to know the information that you've got. Don't think that everything needs to be new. When it comes to building your audience, I can see there's a couple of questions coming through. I'm going to save those ones till the end. When it comes to building your audience, it's really important that you do focus on quality, not quantity. I know we often want to go for big numbers of likes and have large audiences, but it's much better that those audiences are the right people for you and your business. Don't buy followers and likes. It's just pointless and vanity. Those people will never engage with your content. They will never buy from you. Again, if you want to know if you are reaching the right audience for your business, the answers are in your own data. They are in Facebook Insights, they're in Instagram Insights, and Twitter has some data on audience now, but not quite so much as it used to do. What else? Don't forget to tell people you're on social media. That's really important. The amount of websites I go to where I can't find links to profiles when I want to engage with them on social media, just really simple stuff. Add it to your website, add it to your email signature. When we're out in the world exchanging business cards, make sure there's links on there. Any marketing material you have, make sure there are links, and you tell people that you're on social media. You tell people that they can leave you a review on Facebook. If you tell people what you want them to do, they're much more likely to go ahead and do it. So just picking up on that question, where do I get insights from? It's within the platform themselves. You will see Facebook Insights and Instagram Insights, and there is a previous webinar recording on measurements that matter that I've done screen demos of each of those. Also important is that you don't forget about your own platform. Social media is great in terms of giving you an opportunity to reach large numbers of people, but you're really just renting space, probably not even paying any rent for that space on the social media platforms. So don't forget about your own platform, and by that I mean your website. That is a big challenge, is often for people to drive traffic to their website. You can get more data when you drive traffic to your website. You can see what people do, whether they sign up to an email newsletter, download a piece of content. So don't think that everything has to stay on a social media page or profile. You own your website. You're in much more control. So do think about how you can use social media to drive people to other places. And to do that, you need to include a call to action. So don't forget to include a call to action. As I've said, you need to tell people what you want them to do. Click here, go there, learn more, sign up. Make sure that you include that in your social media posts. And do measure and manage, refine and test. Social media changes all the time. As we know, right now the world has changed very fast. So we need to manage what we're doing and keep refining and testing. It's not a starting point and an ending point as well. And to come on to someone's question here on that, I was waiting for this slide. You're a new small company, you're not really social media savvy. Any webinars to help us get set up? I have got some resources at the end, either my previous webinars or some learning resources. Facebook have their own online learning blueprint courses for Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn has a huge library of online learning courses, not just on LinkedIn. I've also got links in there to a couple of other courses. So there's plenty of opportunity to get you started. Hashtags. This is my final point on hashtags, because these are a feature used within social media. They started off on Twitter. They were a way within short messages at the time to give context to what your post was about, but it also makes your post searchable. If you have some time while you're at home and need an excuse to watch Justin Timberlake, there is a YouTube clip link there on the slide for you to look at later, where Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon on his show Talk solely using hashtag speak, which shows you how crazy it can be if you overuse them. What's really important is that you do use hashtags in your posts, 2 or 3 on LinkedIn, 2 or 3 on Twitter. Branded ones only really on Facebook because they're not used so much on Facebook. Always think about how you use them as a user of social media platforms, but much more important on Instagram, where you can have up to 30 hashtags. And if you have questions, to start typing those in. I'm just going to leave you on this slide to hopefully lighten the day when hashtags, because they don't have spaces in, where sometimes they can go wrong. I'll come back to that while I do Q&A, but just to recap on the current actions and do's for this time is to review scheduled content, switch off automation, reassess what you're doing daily, but do stay visible. Address what's happening in the world, be sensitive, be helpful and add value, but do focus on the long term as well. Those resources I mentioned, well, how can I help? You'll get this slide deck which has the links. In there are links to previous webinars. I have free resources on my website, which includes, I mentioned earlier, a profile audit list to make sure that you're ready to do business. I also, to help you with time management, have a task list broken into daily, monthly, weekly tasks. If you struggle to keep up with all the changes to social media, I do circulate a weekly update on all the changes. If you're planning, I have an ebook on how to write a social media marketing plan with 50% off if you're watching this webinar with the promo code IPSE50. I do offer one-to-one support, of course, and if you do want to get in touch, you can find me on social media at Luann Wise or email me, say hello at luannwise.co.uk. And those other resources I mentioned, training courses, and always a good place to dive in. LinkedIn Learning, Facebook Blueprint, Hootsuite University if you're looking to use the social media management platform, and Google Digital Garage has some great online learning courses as well, and all of those come with certifications. Tweeriad is the platform, the tool that I would use to find out the best time to tweet. Facebook and Instagram have it within their own platform, but Tweeriad is a separate tool for Twitter. And just a link there, I included it in the previous webinar, but it's always been updated. If you want to know what other brands are doing on social media during this crisis, there's lots of examples in that slide deck for you. So it's just gone 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining and listening. You will get this slide deck with the links and a copy of the recording. If there's any questions, then do pop them in the box for me. Okay, some questions about my point about being helpful and, you know, try not to overtly sell. Yeah, I think it's about not boasting, because some businesses are doing incredibly well right now. It's, you know, presented them with huge opportunities, particularly some online retailers. But yeah, other people are struggling. They're struggling for their business. They're struggling at home with their mental health. So I think it's about being sensitive in the way that you just frame what you're doing and what you're working on. So my approach to this was just to do the kind of the weekly roundups of, this is what I'm doing this week. This is what I've achieved. This is what I'm working on. How about you? So I think it's all about that point about changing your tone of voice, telling people you're still open for business, that you're still able to do certain things and getting results, but just be sensitive and mindful of other people that might not be in the same situation as you are. The training courses to become Instagram and Facebook accredited are Facebook Blueprint, which the link's there. So they are online accreditations. I was invited directly by Facebook to do some Train the Trainer to be a Blueprint lead trainer, but just to get their Blueprint qualifications is their online learning courses, which have assessments at the end of them, which you do under exam conditions with a webcam watching you and multiple choice questions to work through them. So you can do all their courses as training, and then you can take their certificates as well at the end. So that is Facebook Blueprint. Tips on using hashtags on LinkedIn business pages. I won't go into all of LinkedIn because that is another training session, but I will just talk about hashtags on LinkedIn. Think most of the time, go back to my point about thinking about how you as a user on the social media platforms, whether you use hashtags to search for content or not. We know that on Twitter and Instagram, people use hashtags readily to find content. It's part of the way that they work. LinkedIn had hashtags, they removed them, they brought them back again. The good thing about LinkedIn is it is prompting the hashtags that you should use. So when you're writing content, whether it's a long update or if you are posting articles, it will suggest hashtags to use. And I would recommend just picking from the suggested hashtags, because LinkedIn is suggesting them to you linked to the content that you are posting. And I would just put 2 or 3. And I would just bear in mind that people most likely to be searching LinkedIn for hashtags are probably journalists, the LinkedIn editors themselves, people looking for content around specific topics, more likely to be researchers and content creators rather than perhaps your customers and prospects. So don't overthink it, just use what LinkedIn is suggesting, 2 or 3 that really focus on what your content is about. Do you have to have a presence on all social media platforms? Can you just choose? Yeah, my first slide on focus where it counts. You can have a presence on all of them if you wish to, if it's important to you. The most important thing is focus, getting that balance between the time that you have available and the resources that you think you can get for your business from spending that time and effort. I would pick 1 or 2 and focus on doing them really well rather than trying to pick more. And the platforms I would pick are the ones where I know my audience are, that I can reach them, get in front of them, stay visible and engage with them. So sometimes that may not be the platform that you like to use the most. And the only answer to that is to ask your customers which ones they use and to see what everyone else is up to, what your competitors are up to, what your industry body. But better to do 1 or 2 things really well than to try and spread yourself too thinly. Some more detailed questions coming in here, so hang on a second. Can you inform how one increases their 140 count on Twitter to more? Twitter increased their count by default to 280 a couple of years ago, so you should just have that automatically. It's not a paid for option. You should just be able to write more than 140 characters now, plus links, images, and videos. Can I say more about hashtags on Facebook? I said hashtags aren't really used on Facebook. Again, think back to how you as a user uses Facebook and whether you are searching for hashtags. They're not used that often. It's just not something within the fabric of Facebook that its users are using. But sometimes when brands are running big campaigns and want to measure it and people pick up on it, for example, when there was the ice bucket challenge, things like that, when it becomes something known and brands start using them and encouraging you to use it, you'll find hashtags, but most of the time you just won't see users doing it. And I would say all the tips that I'm kind of sharing here, yes, I am using social media for my business, teaching it, training it, but most of my observations are from being a user and seeing what other people are doing and how people behave and what they're doing, because there isn't this rule book. Training on YouTube, no, I don't offer training on YouTube. I think YouTube has its own courses. I would also be confident that Google Digital Garage have training on YouTube. Yes, I'm sharing the presentation and the full recording. What's the difference between a post and an article on LinkedIn? A post is short form, an article is long form. So a post is when you write something in the box that appears on the top of your LinkedIn homepage. It's a few hundred characters. What are you working on? What are you doing? I think someone else is asking. I mentioned about a survey. Yes, I'm hosting a survey. Please complete it. It's something short that will appear in people's newsfeed and that they will scroll through. An article is like a blog. It's long form content. I wouldn't encourage you to write articles specifically for LinkedIn right now, because short form updates are getting more visibility in the feed and people are engaging with it more. Articles take more time for people to read. If you have written blogs already and that they're on your website, I would cut and paste them onto LinkedIn as an article. I would, at the bottom of that blog post, put this article first appeared on and link it to your website page in case people do find it and want to find more. And then I would share that article as a link in a short form update to encourage people to see it. Just the way LinkedIn is working right now in terms of visibility and users that aren't spending quite so much time looking at depth content. How many publications do I recommend to do per week? Not quite sure on that question, but my answer would be how much to post and when. The recommendations I would start with as a base, the answer is always it depends. It depends how much content you have to post. It depends on your audience. It depends on the stage you're at with your business. In the early days, you may need to do more when people aren't aware of it, to when you're more established and it's more about nurturing than generating lots of awareness. As a starting point, I would go for 3 to 5 posts a week on Facebook, 3 to 5 posts a week on Instagram. That's on both the feed and stories. I would go for 2 tweets a day if you can, and that's why I advise having that set of core content that you can use and repeat and repeat and repeat. LinkedIn doesn't need to be so much. If you can do 1 a week, 1 a fortnight, that would be great, because LinkedIn post is more likely to be a bit more meaty and quality rather than a chattier kind of post that would appear on Twitter. What's more important is that you're consistent and that you keep showing up, that what you're sharing is relevant to your audience, that it has calls to action, that it's something that you can measure. And if that needs to be on the weekend, well, again, the answers will be in your own data, in Facebook Insights, Twitter Insights, Twitter Twiriad, Instagram Insights. That will tell you if your audience are online at the weekend and when they're online at the weekend versus weekdays, and try and test it is the biggest answer I can give you. Lots of questions. Any advice on targeting certain sizes of businesses with professional services? You wanted to sell legal services to companies over a certain turnover. Professional services, yes, they do use various social media platforms. Very often that is managed by the marketing teams. So if you wanted to reach the company owner or other people for services, then perhaps you want to be finding them directly, their own personal accounts. It's business to business, so my gut feel would be to go for LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has some really in-depth search criteria, some on a free account, more on a paid for account, where you could start looking at company size and turnover and job title and things as well. So it's very much about kind of knowing your audience and knowing what platform they hang out and how to go and find them on that platform. But for businesses, professional services messages, I'll probably start with LinkedIn. Does LinkedIn have something like Facebook Insights? On LinkedIn, you have your own personal dashboard, which will tell you how many times you are appearing in search and how many profile views you're getting. It doesn't have data around kind of times of day or who your audience are. A company page does have some insights, but I find because employees follow a company page as default, that data is very skewed by employees, and also probably being followed by competitors and journalists, so not so representative. But in terms of the LinkedIn dashboard, I have written a blog on that was for Social Media Examiner, so I'm going to add that to the slide deck before I send it out. There's also, for the professional services question, how to use LinkedIn ads to find those audiences as well, so I'll put those links at the end of the slide deck for you. Still lots of questions coming in, so I know some people are leaving, but I'm going to keep going. New role, like your opinion on how to find clients via LinkedIn. Big question, whole webinar topic. I think whether it's not recorded already, it will be coming up. You need to set up your own profile to start with, be ready to do business, and then it's a case of searching for them using the search tool and sending them one-to-one messages about how you can help them. Don't sell, but how you can help them. I really can't answer that whole question because it is a whole nother webinar training course in itself. But if you want to contact me separately, I can point you to some specific resources on that one. Do's and don'ts regarding photos for social media. Great question. There is a GDPR issue that comes into photos of people around whether you are showing people's faces and having permission to do so, because that is their data. I would suggest that you create your own do's and don'ts around images, and if it does include other people, that you always get permission, and you acknowledge people in the photo. But just in terms of whether it's yourself or anything else, I think it's about making sure that the photos are good quality and clear, and explain what it is you're trying to show. They're not kind of photos for the sake of it. They're clear photos. Yeah, someone's sharing there. There is photo libraries that can be really useful. Unsplash.com is one, a royalty-free library that you can use. Pixabay is another. There are photo libraries you can go to that are absolutely fine for using on social media. One last question to answer. When trying to build a following, how does your output differ when you simply want to push your content creation rather than have a specific product? This is about creating awareness, and building your following is about content. It is about good content that people are looking for. It's about including hashtags so that people can find your content if they are looking for it. But in terms of building a following, it's about engaging with people as well. So it's not just about pushing content, it is about following other people. It's about commenting on other people's posts and sharing other people's content to kind of get in front of them and kind of go, you know, I'm here, have a look at me and follow me, be part of my world. So it's partly about content, but it's also about following and engaging with people as well. Again, a whole different topic. I think we have a session coming up later this year on building your audiences, so we can cover that one there. Wow. Again, thank you so much. I know some of you disappeared, but you may watch the recording because there was a lot of Q&A. Thank you to those that stuck around for almost an hour. You've got my contact details if there's more questions that come up. There is more webinars, one every month, with IPSE. So a big thank you to IPSE for hosting and sending out copies of this. Please do check their website for all the support that you need during the current times, and enjoy the rest of your day.